My father-in-law told me to choose between 8 million bucks and his daughter, like that was even a choice. Every second I hesitated would have been an insult to that 8 million. Only an idiot would have picked his daughter, but sure enough this idiot went and did exactly that. What I didn't know was that one choice would have me living like dirt for the next 10 years. I chased after Ashley like my life depended on it, and all I ever got back was coldness and eye rolls. Then one day while walking with her, I stepped in front of a blade meant for her. I died in some dark alley and the last thing I saw was her face completely unbothered like I was nobody to her. I was done being the guy who gave everything and got nothing, so this time I calmly reached out my hand and took the check. I stretched out my hand without hesitation and took that check. I looked up at Ashley and her dad broke into the biggest grin. It was full of genuine relief and gratitude as I said, "Thanks, sir." Inside that lavishly decorated private room, her father had come in loaded with a whole speech ready to tear me apart. But every word got stuck in his throat and that intimidating look on his face just vanished. He just stood there stunned and Ashley's childhood best friend, whose smirk had been plastered on his face, suddenly froze. That girl who was always untouchable and never let anything crack her composure, finally showed a crack for the very first time, and I carefully folded the check. I tucked it into the pocket of my worn-out jeans, and then stood up and gave her father a deep bow. "Sir, you have my word starting today. I will never reach out to Miss Liu again." Then I turned to Ashley and said in the flattest tone I could manage, "Sorry for bothering you these past 3 years. I wish you all the best," and with that, Ashley gave the faintest little shudder. She finally looked at me for real and those pretty eyes of hers were no longer cold. Instead, they were filled with something complicated and hard to read, but before she could say a word, I was already turning to leave when Ryan spoke up. "I thought you had some backbone, man. Turns out you're just another spineless guy blinded by money. 3 years and you sold yourself out for 8 million bucks. Have you no shame?" My steps stopped cold, and in my past life, those exact words sent me completely over the edge. I lunged at him and we brawled until the Liu family security tossed me out on the street. This time around, all I felt was a quiet pity, and I said, "Easy there, Ryan. First, it was 3 years, not 10. And second, this was never a relationship. It was just me chasing someone who never wanted me, and third, this isn't selling out. This is Mr. Liu giving me fair compensation for 3 years of effort, because being a devoted guy takes real time and energy. 8 million is honestly right on the money, and with that, I pulled open the heavy wooden door, and walked out without looking back, leaving the room dead silent behind me. I stepped out of the hotel, and the evening sun hit my eyes so hard they started to water. I pulled out the check and stared at the number on it. It was so real it almost made me cry. To hell with love, to hell with dignity. I got a second shot at life, and this time, I am not falling for anyone. I didn't rush to the bank to cash the check right away because a cunning old fox like Mr. Liu could easily have pulled some tricks like adding a cooling off period, or making it a bad check just to watch me make a fool of myself. So I grabbed a cab and headed back to my place in the working class part of town. That tiny room under 10 square meters was dark and damp, and the air was thick, with the smell of instant noodles mixed with grease and mold in the worst way imaginable, and this was where I had gritted my teeth and lived for 3 years. All just to be close to Ashley's school, and I flipped open my beat-up 5-year-old laptop. The screen took forever to turn on and I didn't rush. I just leaned back in my chair and started thinking about my future. If I had a second chance at life, what was my biggest advantage? It was information. I knew where the economy was headed over the next 10 years, which stocks were going to skyrocket, which industries were about to blow up, and I remembered all of it crystal clear. I opened my trading app and typed in a ticker. Texor Inc. I remembered it like it was yesterday. Tomorrow, this nobody of a company was going to announce a chip technology patent, and its stock would blast from $5 all the way to 200. I picked up my phone and called Ashley, keeping my voice totally flat. "Your stuff is all packed up and sitting outside my door. You can send someone to pick it up whenever. Also, I got a new number, so there's no need to stay in touch." Before she could even respond, I just hung up. I popped out my SIM card, snapped it in half, and tossed it in the trash. Finally, some peace and quiet, and the very next morning, I went straight to the bank, and to my surprise, the check cleared without a hitch, and it wasn't until my phone buzzed with a notification showing a string of digits in my account that I truly believed my life was actually starting over, and I didn't think twice. I wired all 8 million into my brokerage account and went all in on Texor. Walking out of the brokerage office, I suddenly felt incredibly light. All I had to do now was sit back and wait, and I never went back to that moldy little room. Instead, I checked into the nicest hotel downtown and booked an executive suite. I soaked in a hot bath with a glass of ice-cold champagne, taking in the glittering city lights outside, and I honestly felt like I was dreaming. While I was lost in my thoughts, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. It was from Ashley. "Hey, where are you? And you threw out everything I gave you." I didn't reply, I just blocked the number right then and there. This time around, I was going to take care of myself, and over the next week, I lived the easy life I used to only dream about, sleeping in every morning, having a nice breakfast at the rooftop rotating restaurant, hitting the gym in the afternoon, lounging by the pool and soaking in the city nightlife after dark. I tossed out all my cheap tees and jeans and picked up a few tailored suits. Clothes really do make the man, that saying is no joke. Money is a man's greatest confidence, and as for Texor stock, I didn't even bother checking it, and that evening I made plans with 2 friends to grab drinks at Cloud9, the most exclusive private club in the city. Thumping music in my ears, the air buzzing with money and energy, and in my last life, I couldn't even get in the door. But right now I was sitting in the best booth in the house when someone called out to me, "Hey, big shot, want another round?" A model next to me leaned over with a smile. Before I could answer, I caught a familiar face out of the corner of my eye. It was Ashley. What was she doing here? And Ryan was right there with her, along with a few rich kids I didn't recognize, and Ryan was going on and on about something, while Ashley looked completely checked out, not matching the energy around her at all. She spotted me too, and the second our eyes met, I saw a flash of surprise cross her face, then confusion, and then something she couldn't hide, which was disgust. Ryan followed her gaze and immediately his face twisted into an exaggerated smirk. He shoved through the crowd and made his way straight toward me, clearly trying to make a scene. He cranked up the volume on purpose to draw everyone's attention and yelled, "Well, well, well, if it isn't the legendary lover boy himself blowing Ashley's dad's 8 million at a place like this. Feeling pretty good about yourself, huh? Like you've hit the top of the world." The guys behind him all cracked up and started taking shots at me, calling me a simp, saying I sold myself out for 8 million and brought shame to every guy out there. My two friends next to me looked uncomfortable and were about to get up, but I gently put my hand on them and told them to stay put. Then I picked up my whiskey, swirled it slowly, and didn't even bother looking at him. "Ryan, long time no see, how is the family business holding up? I heard the Fang Group had some trouble with a few overseas projects." "What are you talking about?" I took a sip and kept going. "That port project you had in Southeast Asia is dead in the water because of local policy changes. And didn't a competitor swoop in and take your chip distribution deal in Europe? Those two alone are at least a 500 million loss." All of this was stuff I had seen in financial news in my past life, and cold sweat broke out on Ryan's forehead instantly. This was all internal company info, only the board knew about it. "Are you digging into me?" I finally set down my glass and looked him dead in the eye, my tone ice cold. "Ryan, you really think too highly of yourself. You're not even worth my time." I stood up and had a solid half a head on him, and I looked down at him, with nothing but contempt in my eyes, telling him to go fix his own dumpster fire, instead of running around biting people like a mad dog, and the laughter around us slowly died down. Everyone could feel the shift in the air, and Ryan was completely crushed by my presence. His mouth opened and closed, but nothing came out, and I was done with him. I pulled out a stack of cash from my wallet and slapped it on the table, saying, "Ladies,